Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Alignment Podcast, where high performers come to grow without stress, shame, or burning out. I'm Minh-Thu Lam, and I'm here to help you work smarter, live fuller, and feel like yourself again. If you're tired of running on empty, book your complimentary assessment call at higheralignmentconsulting.com/program, and let's figure out what's draining your energy and what you can do to start feeling happy and peaceful once again. You can find the link in the show notes. Now let's get into the episode. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Higher Alignment Podcast. And when I tell you this episode has been a long time coming, I mean, it has been a long time coming. I'm going to be honest, I actually thought you were dodging coming on my podcast for a while there because I had sent a few messages and then I'd get like no response. But then I'd see you the next week. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh, she's just busy. And then, like, the last time when I asked you, I'm like, okay, are you ready? You're like, oh, yeah, I'm ready. And I'm like, damn, girl, why did you respond to my messages sooner?
No, I feel like I'm a little, I maybe I was dodging you. I can't lie. I don't know. No, I don't think I was. I think I'm just like doing 85 literal million things at a time. So I was like, yeah, like when your friends hang out and you're like, we should get together. And you're like, yeah. And no one actually really means they want to get together. They just say that, That's kind of why I think I'm like, oh, she's just saying that. She doesn't actually want me on our podcast. But yeah.
Well, I'm happy you're here because I did genuinely want you on here. So, everybody, please welcome my beautiful client, Shelby Harvey, to the podcast. Yay, yay, you're here. Oh, and the reason I've wanted you on for so long is because you have an incredible story, which we're gonna get into. I know anyone who's listening to this is gonna feel seen, heard, and like inspired. But also, I would say you are probably my funniest client. No pressure. Like, no pressure. You are one of the best storytellers I have ever met. And I tell you this often.
Oh my gosh. Don't stroke my ego, Mintu, because I'll believe you.
Yeah.
Don't tell me.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get into it, Shelby. Let's start off with let's just start with a little bit of your background before we kind of get into where we are currently. But like, where you're located, what you do for work, how you got into it. Let's start there.
I own a creative agency called By the Creatives. We are a creative agency based here in Los Angeles that primarily focuses on branding, high quality content production, and creative direction. So I work closely with small businesses to help build them kind of a brand persona, build them a brand identity, language, and just how they're perceived from a digital perspective. So I work primarily with beauty brands, aesthetics, plastics, etc. My background is actually in beauty and like lifestyle apparel. So I have experience in different industries, which has kind of helped shaped my ability to adapt to different businesses and be able to speak different languages. I feel like the only thing I'm not really like keen on is probably tech or anything like that. I'm not really in that space, but mostly beauty, aesthetics, plastics, lifestyle brands, athletic wear, etc., things like that.
And maybe we can from there now knowing what you do because obviously that's like a business that's hard to shut off because content creation is 24/7. Do you know what I mean? Like and I could only imagine how much that was affecting your burnout and just the ability to like even tap out. I think that's hard with any business, but I could only imagine especially with that one because people are literally creating content 24/7. You know what I mean? And it's like being on your phone, just constantly being in those machines that often burn us out, social media, etc. So walk me and the audience through when we first started working together. What was life like from an internal perspective and an external? So like what did it look like as far as like what you're doing in your day to day and how was that? How did you feel internally?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the fact that I've been doing social media as a career on the brand side of things since 2016 era. So the I almost feel like the burnout has been a long time building since then, almost like 10 years of burnout that's just like slowly compounded over time because it's been an always on job for the last almost 10 years. Even through COVID and everything, I was working for a company that made us come into the office. So there really was like there's really been no break ever since then for me. And most brands, if you're the only social media manager there or you're on the social team, you're working literally 7 days a week. So it's almost been like ingrained in my brain to work every single day. And basically, like, what is a boundary? I've never even known what a boundary was until I honestly feel like it was when I started my own agency and I really started to see how needing to constantly be available in order to like make things work was my new mindset. And because if you're not working, you're not making money. If you own a creative agency, essentially, it's not like I'm on a salary that pays me no matter what. Some things are project based. And so having to work to consistently bring in new clients puts you in this mindset of always needing to work and always bring in a dollar and always develop the business. So honestly, I feel like it was around the end of middle to end of last year when it clocked to me that I was burnt out. I think it was a long time coming up to that, but it didn't hit me like an epiphany until mid end of last year, 2024. And essentially, I had been brought in to build this really unique med spa in Orange County. And we built it from complete scratch with hardly any budget. And I was basically tasked with building its brand identity. I mean, like from complete scratch. We're talking brand colors, language identity, website, socials, etc. All of the things, which takes a really long time. It's tedious, it's time consuming, and it's around the clock because you're trying to build this in a matter of months and then maintain it and grow it and scale it to what it is currently. And so I think that, along with a lot of other things that I was trying to do in my life, like develop my own agency and bring in other clientele, like really just sent me over the edge. And one day I was just scrolling on Instagram and I came across your video you were sitting in the car and it was like, if you're experiencing these things, you're probably burnt out. And I think I had already been kind of seeding that in my own brain that something is not right. Like something is not right with me. I was extremely cynical. I was like hyper negative. And I feel like for myself, I try to be extremely logical and realistic about things. So the, I will probably see more of the negative potential outcomes than the positive because I want to try to fix all of them and avoid any of those negative outcomes. So I will try to like see everything. And I think some people can perceive that as negativity sometimes. But this was like cynical, actual negativity. Like I absolutely I hated everything negative self talk, gossiping, negative about other people, just like in an icky way. And I could tell that it wasn't me. And I sensed that. And obviously, these thoughts would come across my head, and I'd be like, who is that talking? Like, who is that talking in my head? Because it's not me. It's like not the Shelby that I know in deep in the depths of my brain. So when I saw that video, it was something like, if you're gossiping about people, if you're cynical, if you're this, if you're that, and I was like, oh my God, it was like 8 things. I was like, oh my God, that's me. And so I went to your website. I did the whole, like, I think it was like a personality quiz or something. It was some sort of quiz. And then I just booked a consultation and I was like, yep, let's just, let's get this show on the road because I need it. Especially after talking with you like the first time, our very first call felt like my first session. It wasn't really like a discover. It wasn't like, I mean, like, I feel like we got into it very quickly. We just dove right in. So it almost felt low key like a free session. But I was like, I just felt very inclined to just open up to you freely. And I feel like in that moment I knew, but then we did like the follow-up call, and I was like, I think the only thing that had held me back right in the first call was like, "Is this girl gonna scam me or what? Like, she's just trying to take my money. I don't even know." Because, like, I mean, I came up on your content on Instagram, like, shit could have been not legit, you know? I was like, "Is this girl gonna scam me for real? Like, fuck," you know?
That's
And
real.
but honestly, I was like, "Fuck, shit can't get any worse. Scam me then. I don't know. Here's my money. Take it." And look it didn't turn out to be a scam, everybody. So there's that.
I'm still here. I'm not some like weird AI chat bot that was just like an AI. What are the AI
No,
personality
and
or something
in
like that?
fact, you were so much not a scam that I re-signed with you 2 times over, and I'm, like, been here with you for, like, a year, so it's, like,
Yeah.
clearly it's doing something great. So,
Okay, well, I'm so glad that you highlighted that specific part about feeling cynical though, because it's 9 times out of 10, every single person I sit down and talk with is going through the same thing. And then what's hard about that is you can feel you're like, why am I saying these things? Why am I reacting that way? And then the other side of it though is you judge yourself even more, and then that just like creates the negative cycle. It just becomes this like big ball of yarn that's like rolling down this hill so fast, and then you don't feel like yourself, you judge yourself, and then you start relating to people differently, right? You're like, am I a bad friend? Am I a bad daughter? Am I a bad coworker? And you just like question your entire identity, and it's really it's very isolating and feels very lonely when you're in that place, you know?
yeah, that was l I mean, you nailed it on the head. That was literally me. I was like, I genuinely and I remember this in our first couple of sessions, I genuinely thought I was a bad person. I genuinely believed I had convinced myself so deeply that I was a bad person and that I didn't deserve to have the friends that I have or, you know, enjoy anything or not or relax and not work so much and it just it was a domino effect and it started to affect so many things in my life like my sleep was terrible. My diet was it was like hanging on by a thread, honestly. Like I think I was eating like frozen chicken nuggets for real, like every day. And my skin was terrible. My hair was like basically kind of like thinning at the end. I mean, honestly, like all facets of my life felt like they were falling apart. And I was like, the only thing that I felt like I could control was myself. And so I just was trying to do anything to see how I could fix myself. And I think sometimes, I think that this process in general has made me realize how sometimes it is you and sometimes it's just not. Sometimes it is just not you and that is a really hard pill to swallow when you are an A type personality and you're a high performer because you want to be able to control everything. And if I can control myself, I can control the outcome and I can control what's going on. But going through this process has made me realize like there was a lot of me that was fixable when it came to my burnout. And it's also cleared the skies of me thinking that everything is controllable by me and some things are for me and some things are just not for me. If that makes any
Okay,
sense.
so good. I'm glad you took it there because this is so important because so many people go through this because it's like when you're in that dysregulated survival state, everything seems dark, right?
Yeah.
And so then like you're saying, there are some things that are okay, actually in my control and that I can work on and some things that just really aren't in alignment. But when you're in that state, because like you said, if you're type A, you're like problem solve, problem solve, problem solve. I can fix this. I can fix this. But then it's, like, so draining because some things you can't fix, and you're still there trying to spin your tires to fix it, where it's like when you can get out of that burnout state, when you can get back into a regulated state, and then you can really see the clear picture. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't even wanna waste energy trying to fix that or figure that out because it's really just not for me or even about me,
Yeah.
right? Can you maybe elaborate on, like, a way that has like kind of shown up for you or like played itself out? Like one way you're seeing that?
I mean, oh my God, in more ways than one. I mean, honestly, a lot in my life has really, I think I've seen a lot of different parts of my life so much more clearly now than I did before. It's like my rose-colored glasses got taken off with how, even like down to my friendships and working relationships and familial relationships are. I think I was trying to like force so many things to work just to realize that they yeah, just to realize that they kind of know, I guess either they no longer serve me, or I'm okay with being like, this isn't for me. And a lot of that I do think has to do with regulating my nervous system and being okay with that. I think before I was so afraid of like confrontation that I didn't want to fuck anything up or ruffle any feathers, because I was like, I mean, I've come like a little bit of background is like, I've come from a place where I was in survival mode. There was so much scarcity. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't have any safety net to fall back on. Grew up with very little, and or almost given things just to be taken away. And so for me, regulating my nervous system and doing all of this work was, I guess, just taking back the control. And I don't know, you always say like giving myself grace, like just giving myself more grace. And there's lots of, I mean, there's a million stories I could probably tell you about like how any of this has like showed up in my life. But I could go down, I mean, down to like, I've had my friends, I've told you this, like my friends text a friend texted me basically telling me that they're unfollowing me on Instagram, and they're because I don't engage on any of their social content, they're unfollowing me on Instagram, and but we'll still be friends IRL and blah blah blah, all this stuff. And at first, I caught myself being like, you realize all of this personal stuff has been going on in my life. Like, sorry if I didn't see all your Instagram stories. And we kind of started to go back and forth. And I went back and forth with this person for only 3 text messages until it hit me, including the initial one I sent, until it hit me. And I was like, wait a minute. Do I actually give a fuck? Because no, I actually don't. Initially, right when it hit me, like right when I read the text message, I did get that little bit of like that gut feeling that if you're in like survival mode, anxiety, then it feels like your heart kind of falls out of your ass, whatever. I got that for a split second, and then like 2 text messages later, I found myself kind of trying to justify what was happening, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't even need to do any of this. I ended up not responding to the final message, blocked that person, and moved on with my life, and I never looked back. And it was like the easiest kind of like cutoff for me to it was kind of the easiest cutoff for me to do, because I'd already done all of this work with you to try to like regulate my nervous system. And FYI, if y'all hear any beeping, car horns, sirens, I live in LA.
This
So
is downtown LA, baby. This is what it is.
oh, dance, baby. What's up? We just, we call it culture. We call it culture.
Exactly. It's real. It's real. That's okay.
Real life. I'm not a podcaster, all right?
Okay, but I'm what I'm taking from what you're saying is it was just so freeing, right? To like be like, "Oh, I don't need to give this any more energy." Like cut it, done, and like think about in the past how much energy you would have wasted trying to justify or trying to prove something to this person, where instead, now that you like again are in this regulated state, you can be like, actually this just like is not for me, and I'm just like gonna cut it here, you know?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I used to be so afraid of, like, I think I just was so afraid of what people would think about me. And I wanted everybody to like me, and I didn't want to ruffle feathers, and I'm a people pleaser, like I'm a Libra. One thing I really realized in the beginning of us working together is how much of a people pleaser I am. And even now it's like I've got clients hitting me up while we're filming this, and I'm like, it's rattling me a little bit because I'm trying to keep hold of that boundary. So the fact that I just turned off my phone is a big deal for me because I don't really ever turn off my phone. So that would not have happened a year ago, if you know what I mean. And I realized that, like, people pleasing has really gotten me nowhere but in a serious place of burnout, and having to prioritize myself is very hard to do. And if there's any advice I could give to anybody who is listening to this, prioritizing yourself is not easy. And when you're going through this, or even if you're not going through this and you're just listening to this and you don't even have sessions with Mintu, it's like, it is not easy. And you really do have to give yourself grace. And you say this to me all the time. It's like, give yourself grace, give yourself grace. And I'm like, I don't even know how to give myself grace. How do you even do that? What does that even mean? And honestly, it's like, just simply walking outside for 5 minutes, or stepping away from your phone, and like you always tell me this too. It's like the world is not going to go up in flames if you don't answer a text message for 30 minutes. And my world genuinely would go up in flames my entire career if I didn't answer a text for 5, 10, 15 minutes, an hour. Like, my ass is low key getting handed to me. And so, coming out of that as like a mid 20s girl back then, and now being in my mid almost mid 30s, is like been the longest learning curve of my lifetime, I think. Then, fine, whatever, I was doing anything to get anywhere. I'll answer your text, I'll come in on a Sunday, I'll do whatever you need me to do. Now I'm just in a different stage of my life where that mindset has burnt me out. And so I think just unlearning a lot of all of these ways that you had to learn in order to succeed and get anywhere in your career have gotten me to this place now. But it's not sustainable by any means. So
100%. And like honestly, I think high achievers are actually one of the most people pleasing groups. Like I like
yeah.
this is what I've realized now, and most people would probably think the other way because a lot of these people are business owners or executives, and so you see them having to make decisions and saying no, and like, and honestly, if anyone's ever met Shelby in person, no one would probably think you're a people pleaser, honestly, because you have a very strong, powerful demeanor, so no one would probably even guess that. And that's the majority of my clients. But underneath that all is this survival strategy and this pattern that you talked about that we have to unlearn, that is what I call the gift and curse of being a high performer. The gift is you're willing to do what most people won't to succeed. The curse of it is it's usually at the expense of your own well-being, right?
Yep.
So as you said, now you're in your 30s, and like, I always talk about people in their 20s and 30s because most of my clients come at about the same age as you plus, and it's like your 20s are about grinding it out. It is about like, I'll do whatever I need to do to prove myself, to make it happen. And you also have a lot more like gas in the tank in your 20s. Your body's more forgiving. You have more energy. You can stay up late and wake up early and do all these things. But then once you get into your 30s or 40s and you've proven yourself, it's like those external things aren't as motivating anymore. The accolades, the money, the cars, the whatever it is, it doesn't have that same level of like fulfillment. So then you get into your 30s using the exact same strategies you used in your 20s, but you're like, well, shit, I'm burnt out and this doesn't even feel good anymore. And so when you go back to saying like it is hard to prioritize yourself, it does feel hard purely for the fact that it goes against everything that you've been doing for the past 10, 15, 20 years. And now you have to train yourself to do something different, but it is a way more sustainable way, right?
Yeah, totally. I actually had a friend tell me the other like, we were on a shoot a couple like, maybe a month ago, and it's funny because now that my rose-colored glasses have been taken off about, like, what it really takes, I guess, to succeed, which is basically pouring into your own cup so that you can pour into others, I was kind of giving him these tips and tricks or whatever about how I am, and how in order to grow his business, he needs to also put himself first so that he can, just reclaim himself and be able to pour into his business, etc., and have the energy to do it. Like we're still young, but we're not like 20s young. It's a different ball game. Your 20s and your 30s. Like they're close. They may be like neighbors, but they're not on the same street. They're like neighboring neighborhoods. You know what I mean? And I literally told him how I'm a people pleaser. I can't even remember the conversation exactly because this part alone just stuck with me about I had said I'm a people pleaser. I completely understand this. Like you're just trying to get the job done and you want to do it well and you'll do whatever it takes to do it well because your name is on it. And he was like, "You're a people pleaser? I would have never guessed you're a people pleaser." And I was like, Minh-Thu just said that in our last session. That's crazy. Because it's true, like you just said, people don't think that or don't initially think that about me, or it doesn't seem like I'm that way. And obviously about certain things I'm not that way, like about certain, you know, about my friends, if I have to stand 10 toes down about my friends, like I could be a little bit confrontational. But when it comes to me, I'm much more meek and less confrontational, and I'm like, "Yes, got it. You done. I'll do it right now." Blah 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 blah. Just because I kind of was raised that way, at home, but also in my career. So
Well, and that's what we were all taught as like a survival strategy. You know what I mean? Again, just like do sacrifice yourself to make it happen. Sacrifice yourself to make it happen. And like and for anyone listening, that doesn't mean like sacrifice might sound a little dramatic, but I mean like I won't sleep, I won't eat, I won't take a break, I won't, you know what I mean? Like that's how you're sacrificing your well-being for, to please everybody else or to make the job happen or to get it done based on their timeline
yeah,
versus like again being able to set boundaries. It's just not something we're taught, you know what I mean? Like we and our society doesn't really support it either. Our society, especially in North America, is built on do what you need to do to make it happen, right? And I can go on a tangent on why I think it's structured that way. I think we're easier to control when we're not in our power and we're dysregulated. But again, it's not sustainable, you know. So I wanted to ask you, and maybe you've kind of said it already, but like, what would have been your biggest aha moment from this journey? Like, what is the one thing that like you're like, wow, that like really hit when it clicked for you and it really just like completely shifted the way you look at things or just anything?
yeah. Honestly, like I don't know if your other clients experience this, but even while you were talking about that, I was literally thinking how it's so funny because when we first started doing this, I was like, I'm going to be the best student. Like, I'm going to maximize my time here, like with higher alignment and blah, blah, like whatever. Right. And I started here and I kind of went all the way over here where I went to the other side of the extreme where I was like completely burnt out, not doing anything. And then I was like, full boundaries. You know, no one can like I want to be completely level-headed and I'm going to have extreme boundaries and I'm not going to let anybody in. And I kind of went just all the way to the other side of the spectrum. And then as we went on and I was explaining to you, like, I'm trying to keep these boundaries strong, you would be like, it's okay to like waver sometimes. And essentially, if I have to work till 10 p.m. at night, like, it's okay to do that, to have to get things done. You have deadlines you have to meet, you have whatever that you have to do. So it's okay to be able to do those things and not feel like you're giving up on your journey doing this and coming out of the burnout. And that set a tone for a few different areas in my life in the way that I thought about things, because I was like, in order for me to be successful in this, I have to wake up at this time. I have to do this. I have to do this, and I need to be done by 6 p.m. Otherwise, I'm not following like the program, and I'm not giving myself a break, and blah blah blah. So I would be like, if someone had given me direction for something to be one way, and I've always been like this, it's that way. It was kind of hard for me to understand that there was flexibility in that. And so the same thing, that same concept came down to how I wanted to be in my mind. I wanted to, before I felt like I would fly off the handle at anything. And I would just fly off the handle, and then everybody knew me as like, whoa, Shelby's got like a hairline trigger. Don't like she'll oh, don't do that because Shelby doesn't like that. And it would be that kind of sentiment around me freaking out about something. And I didn't like that sentiment about me. I wanted it to be all the way on the other side, like she's so chill, blah, blah, blah. And so I remember always telling you, like, I just don't want to fly off the handle. I just don't want to fly off the handle. It's too much. I'm too much. I just want to be. There's people in my life who like they just seem like they're coasting like this. They're all the time. They're just like this. They're not. I'm always up and down and all over the place and blah 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 blah. And I wanted to be like that for so long, and then it really took until honestly, I feel like just barely a couple months ago, where I had this epiphany. And I think we were doing weekly sessions, and I had the epiphany that, like, actually, I it's performative for me to act this way. It's performative of me to be chill because I'm just not a, like, tranquil chill person. Like, what makes me good at my job is my passion to feel things really high and have low lows and high highs and feel all different things around the spectrum. Like, that is what makes me good and really passionate. And that is what keeps my soul burning, and like my ability to story tell and really like bleed into the brands that I build, and honestly like give my everything to those, because with every brand that I build, there's like a piece of Shelby embedded in the DNA of the brand. And I can't do that and be who I am at the core and also be as great at my job as I want to be without that passion and being able to honestly fly off the handle and get really excited and get really angry and feel all these different emotions, because that's what creates personality and energy. And me being like coasting through life like this is not who I really am. And so now I kind of got to this point where I get to choose a little bit, and I've been able to control a lot more when I guess in this case fly off the handle, or when I get more angrier about something or more excited about something, or and it's not like a ding, I'm going to be excited about this now. Excitement, like ping excitement. Yay, I'm excited. It's really just more controlled in the sense of this situation allots for a different type of reaction. And now I have the tools in my toolbox to be able to handle this situation accordingly. It was like I was handling situations maybe not the way that they needed to be handled at the time. Something that was so minor and small, I would maybe fly off the handle. And now I can accept it and digest it and give it the energy that it requires without it being too much or too little, and I get to decide that, which is kind of crazy because I just wasn't like that. I've never been like that. I've always been in this like survival mode of like I'm like either a shaking chihuahua or like a really angry monster or like a really loud, crazy, excited like mongrel. But now I feel that I get to, yeah, I guess I just get to kind of choose a little bit more and have more control over what I'm feeling and when I'm feeling it. And I'm okay with that. Like, I think the main
Mm.
point is that I'm okay with that because before I was like, I'm too much, I'm too much, I'm too much. And it really took me, honestly, like almost a year of me working with you to realize that the too much piece, first of all, who's telling me that I'm too much? And does that person pay my bills? No. Second of all, that too much makes me the creative that I am. Like, I am a creative at heart, and I need to have that in order to do my job really well. Like, if you think about painters and artists and comedians, these people have range of emotion so that they can experience life differently and, verbalize things differently and just send the message the way that the message needs to be sent, if you will.
Hmm. So good, and I'm glad you brought that up because that to me is one of like the highlight parts of your journey as well too. And okay, so the first part of that is this is like when someone's really burnt out, the number one thing you crave is peace, right? So we equate peace with like just being calm and steady all the time. That's what we think, right? So when you've been on the other side of the spectrum for so long and you've just been like melting because you're just so run down, you're like, I just want peace. I just want to be calm. I just want to be relaxed. And that's kind of like your only reference point. So to what you said, it's like, so you took it and ran with it. I'm going to be peaceful. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum. But I'm sure we've talked about this. A regulated nervous system doesn't mean you're always calm. A regulated nervous system is a flexible nervous system, which means it can ride the ups and downs of life. That doesn't mean you're sedated and have no response to anything. It means that you can have the highs and the lows, but the most important thing is you can come back to baseline, right?
Yep.
I can spike up with excitement or anger, but I can also come back down to baseline in a very reasonable amount of time. And I can drop low and be sad or whatever the case is. When your nervous system is regulated, that down and up time becomes a lot shorter. So you can always find your way back to baseline. When you're burnt out, you get amped up and angry and then you get stuck there. That's
Right.
the problem, right? And then it runs and runs and runs and wastes so much energy. And what you've done so beautifully and because it is true, like your personality is incredible and it's because you have this range of emotions and the key is acceptance, right?
Yeah.
Like you just learn through this journey and by regulating your nervous system and even understanding that most of the time your reactions are not even about the situations, just maybe you're a little dysregulated or maybe you had a little
Yeah.
bit less sleep that day or it's like it's not even that serious, right? But you being able to be like, hey, I actually don't need to change my reactions. I actually don't need to sound a certain way or articulate it. I remember you were at a point where like, I think I need to like get like a speech coach or like a communication coach or like, remember we
Yeah.
talked about that? And you're like, maybe I need to. And I was like, I don't think that's it, Shelby. Like, I really don't. I think you communicate with all your fucks and shits and bullshits very clearly and very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Right?
Truly believed that. I truly believed that I didn't communicate well and that I could not articulate my thoughts. And I really believed I was good at articulate. I used to believe, like, up until basically that point that I was telling you that I was able to articulate my thoughts really well and I was a great writer and copywriting is a part of my job, and so I was able to write copy very well, and it like got to a point where I was like, I'm I think I think I need to do speech classes and things like that because I can't articulate or communicate very well at all. And you were like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what are you
Yeah, like
literally on?
I literally sit and talk with you every single week, and I have no problem understanding what you're trying to communicate, right? But here's the thing. What it comes back to is acceptance, self-acceptance. And another form of self-acceptance is self-love. People have a hard time with the self-love concept, because it's become such like a buzzword, like, and like, what is really self-love? There's so many like misconstrued like ideologies out there of like what self-love is, like it's spas and bubble baths, or like, buying yourself all these nice things. But what real self-love is just self-acceptance. It's more sirens. That's okay. It'll be fine. Self-acceptance meaning I accept myself for who I am. That doesn't mean I'm like gonna let myself get away with bad behavior, or I can just do whatever the fuck I want all the time. I can still be accountable to being a good human being and growing, but I accept myself for who I am, because this is what makes me special. This is what makes me unique. This is what gives me the gift. Do you know what I mean? And it's been so incredible to see you turn that corner, because you're one of the most unique people I've ever met, truly. And it's just really cool to now see you be able to see that for yourself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was honestly a very I definitely turned a corner with that. And it was a very freeing moment, I think, for me, because that's the whole sentiment of my whole life for myself has always been I'm too much. I'm too much. I talk too much. I would always get the report cards that says Shelby talks too much, blah blah blah. And all my friends would be like, "You're too loud. Stop. You're too loud. I'm too this. I'm too that." And I think I believed that for so long, up until the point of that literal epiphany that I had, where I was like, "But that just makes me who I am. Like I can't not be that." And I've tried. I tried to be the cool, nonchalant girl. And even in dating, like, I don't really care about anything. Like, text me, don't text me. I don't want to hang, like, I don't really, you don't have to hang out with me or whatever. And like, and up until, and I haven't dated in so long that like I haven't even tested out this new theory of me, this new concept of myself being okay with being a lot or not an, or just all over the place, like all over the spectrum, being high highs, low lows. I haven't even tested that concept while dating yet. So I realized that being that way and being nonchalant, like I was just telling my friend this the other day. Like, I can't stand a nonchalant bitch. Like, chalant. Chalant a little bit. Like, do something. I can't stand it. Like, give a fuck. Give a fuck about something. Like, honestly. I was even telling my friend the other day because she was like, I don't care. I just don't care about anything. I don't care about I don't care. I can't care. I don't care about this about my job, and I just can't care. And that was my response for a long time when it would come to things about work. I don't care. I don't care. I can't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. And I would tell myself, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. And I'm sure a lot of people do that. And then when I realized for me that caring is what makes me creative, caring is cool, caring is what makes me good at my job. I was like, "No, you know what? I do give a fuck." And that's why I run my mouth about this, and I'm going to say what needs to be said, and you can hate me all you want, but I'm telling you what is the reality of the matter is XYZ with your business, with the brand, with your relationship or my relationship or anything with it doesn't even matter. It's not about like everybody else. It's just about caring is not as uncool as people I think have been led to believe it is. Caring makes you good at your job. That's what, if you look at all A type people and high performers, they really care. They really give a fuck. That's why they're so good at their job. And that people who don't care are still sitting at an entry level position or a mid level position. They're not rising to the top. They're not in the rooms with the people they maybe think they should be in the rooms with because they don't care enough. So it really took me a long time to understand that, like, whoa, wait a minute. I had like a whole reframe. It was a whole reframe with, I mean, down to a lot of different things when it came to me being like, wait, I want to feel the high highs and the low lows. I want to care. I need to care. I can't stop caring because once I stop caring, then my career is going to go down into the slumps and who knows where I might end up. So that was a really big mindset shift for me, honestly.
All right, if you're a burnt out executive or high performer, chances are you're on a 3 to 4 month cycle of burnout, meaning the first few months you're high energy, productive, and making it happen. And then once that third or fourth month sets in, you're exhausted, irritable, snappy, and ready to give it all up. Now, there are two main reasons you get stuck in this cycle that no one talks about when it comes to stress management information out there. So I've put this together in a short video called The Real Reason You're Burnt Out. I put it in the show note links, so take 12 minutes to watch this video and let this be the first step to you getting off this hamster wheel of burnout. All right, guys, back to the episode. Well, and you know what I think that the not caring is a band-aid for? It's a band-aid for, or it's a way of numbing and avoiding the fact that you don't actually like what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Like the times when we pretend we don't care, it's like when we are dating the guy who's not communicative and like doesn't give you the time of day, and you're like, oh, I don't care, but it's like, well, I actually don't like the way you're treating me, but I'm just going to say I don't care to pretend that it's not bothering me.
Right.
Or, same thing with the job. I don't care about my job. Well, I'm actually unhappy there, but I don't know what to do about it. So I'm just going to say I don't care to avoid these uncomfortable feelings I have about not liking my job, right?
Right.
And the truth is like, you need to give a fuck. You need to care because that's how the universe sends you what's for you. That's how the universe sends you what's in alignment, is by you saying yes or no. Because if I know this is what I want, this is what I care about, and I'm authentically me, right? That yes, no, and this is exactly who I'm willing to work with, who I'm willing to date, who I want to date, who I want to work with. The universe now has clear direction on what to send you, right? Where if you're like, I don't care, it's a bunch of vagueness, and it's like hiring for a role, right? It's like if you're hiring for an assistant or a videographer or an executive or whatever, you better know exactly what you want out of that person. So when you sit down in that interview, you can tell very clearly, oh no, this person is not a fit, or this person is. If you go like, oh yeah, sure, just come try it out, well, chances are you're going to invest a lot of time, a lot of energy and money just to have it split or break or have to fire the person,
Yep.
right? So I think people are scared to care because again, they haven't spent enough time with themselves, or they don't know what they actually want or what makes them happy, or they're so disconnected or burnt out that they don't even know how to answer that question. So then
Yeah.
the easier approach is I don't care, but I'm so glad you brought that up because it's again kind of like a numbing period that so many people go through.
Yeah.
Okay,
Caring is
last,
vulnerable.
say that again.
I was saying that caring is vulnerable. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, people are afraid to be vulnerable, and I think when I came to terms with the way that I am and I'm okay with that, I'm okay with being vulnerable because vulnerability makes me a human, one, but it makes me good at my job because I can feel things differently than other people can. And I think in society tells you that vulnerability is bad and you have to be a hustler and you have to like have a hard shell and you have to have a lot of grit and a lot of tenacity. And do. You do have to have a lot of grit and you do have to have a lot of tenacity and resilience. But that does take a different level of vulnerability and care and self-awareness and regulation to get you there. Otherwise, you're just stuck in survival mode. And survival mode can get you places. It can, but it's just not sustainable. And then you end up like
Mm-mm.
me, scrolling through Instagram, finding a TikTok like or an Instagram reel like, I'm cynical. I have this self-hate. That's me.
Well, and one last thing to that vulnerability piece, it's like, again, though, when you get to a place where you can be vulnerable that's how you find your people. That's how you find your gift. Like, if I wasn't vulnerable, I'd have no clients.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, who would relate to me if I didn't tell people about my terrible sleep and my dating issues and how I used to throw up from stress and like all these things. If I didn't share my open, honest story with people, I'd have no business. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's when you can tap into that, it literally, it just shifts so much in your physical world. And that's where you really figure out again who and what is for you, you know? So okay, last question here. Now that you are on the other side of this arc, you know, we're still working together, but you've been through this for a while. Tell me the biggest difference in your internal and external world now versus from before. Like, what's changed? What's life like now for Shelby?
Oh my gosh. Life is completely different now. I mean, I honestly, I can't even remember really how I felt internally then because I think so much has changed since then. But then I just had no I thought I had a routine and I didn't. I was waking up at whatever time, no alarm, circadian rhythm was absolutely fucked. Wake up whenever, make a coffee, go straight to my desk, turn on computer and work for 10 to 12 hours until I felt like the work was done for that day. And or I would work till 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. sometimes. And I was like, no, I have to get this done. No, I have to get this done. And just that routine alone, like my physical day-to-day routine is completely different to where my whole day is essentially centered around my sleep schedule. Like I have really prioritized my circadian rhythm. I'm dead serious. And I feel like people are going to listen to this and be like, "Ugh, this cookie bitch, what is she talking about?" But I'm like I really besides like the scientific, data that backs sleep being really good for you, I genuinely have seen an improvement when I sleep well. I can get through the day just a lot better than before. And even on days when I don't need to be technically up early in the morning, my alarm still goes off at the same time and I still get up and I like my phone. I don't have like, I'm not shackled to my phone anymore. That's another big piece of my life, my physical lifestyle that has changed. Internally, mentally, I think I just have, not even I think, mentally, internally, I have more tools in my mental toolbox of how to re-regulate after a conflict or before a conflict or something that maybe rattled me that wasn't a conflict at all. I just for some reason was a little bit rattled by that. I can come back to my baseline a lot quicker. Before I feel like I would get upset about something and I would be upset or I would think about it and ruminate on it for so long. I mean, days and weeks and like maybe even months about certain things. And now I'm up quick and I'm back down as quick as I flew up. I think the longest that I ruminated on something since learning what I can do with you is 24 hours, which is a really big deal for me because that does not happen. And I think that's just from learning different styles that work for me specifically. I think everybody will have their own things that work for them. Different breathing techniques work for me. Different visualizations work for me. And honestly, like really having that routine, I really, really rely on routine. And I think probably most high performer A type people do. And really want to perfect that routine. And I try to not stronghold it and allow it to be a little bit flexible. But most generally when I'm traveling, when something my mom was in the hospital recently, and like even then, I was really trying to hold on to any part of that routine that I could that made me feel some sort of regulation, because I mean, as a single woman, just with virtually zero help with anything, life is sometimes a lot. So having that sense of regulation and that sense of like, okay, I need to like no more phone after 11 p.m., no more screens after 11 p.m. I need to just drop it. It was almost like a sense of grounding and being able to like look forward to something that I knew was stable.
Yeah, and if I can add one more thing, I that I've noticed is such a shift in you too. It's like you n like, from when we first started to now, your ability to, like, see things like you kind of pointed out at the beginning, see things for what they actually are and not get wrapped up in a story anymore. Like, I've just seen how freeing that's been for you. You know what I mean? Where it's like a person or an interaction before, it kind of would have been like this whole story would get kind of caught up. And now you just see things so much clearer. And I can just see again, like 24 hours max, if that, if it lives in your head, and then after that it's gone and it's on to the next. And yeah, I've just you've done that so incredibly well.
Yeah, I definitely, oh my gosh, the overthinking it was so, I don't even have the words for it. I'm thinking about it right now, literally as we're talking about this. You could probably see it in my eyes just like blanking, because I remember just being such an overthinker. Like I would go into serious depths of thinking about a situation way further than it needed to be thought about. And I would take it as far as it could possibly go into like the end of eternity. And now that you mention that, honestly, I don't think I've done that in a really long time. Like I can't actually think about a time recently at all. I'm gonna go as far as in the last like 6 months where I've actually overthought something to where it actually just made me shut down and I couldn't function. And I've really just learned to let stuff go. I've just really learned to let stuff go and be okay with it, and that things are not going to go up in flames. I think that's like one of the biggest things you would say to me is like, things, the phone is not going to blow up if you don't answer it. The business is not going to catch on fire if you don't get to that email right away. And we've learned together different tools to like, you've really met me where I'm at when it comes to like, yeah, but I have to answer this email because I've got deadlines and da da da. And you're like, okay, so meet the deadline. And I was like, oh, you mean I can just meet the deadline and still come back to the routine afterwards? That's crazy thought. Like, oh, that's crazy talk. What are you talking about over there? But even down to like, allotting even on like vacation. Okay, you can't take vacation and not answer your emails the entire time. A lot of time in the morning of your vacation from 8 to 9 a.m. you'll be available for emails. That's it. After that, you're done. You'll see them the next day. Like that was, I can't tell you how actually mind-blowing that was for me, because my brain was just like, you're either all the way on or you're all the way off. And there was not really an in between to be able to be off with a sliver of on and still function. Like that just never, you just, I had so many tabs open in my mind all the time that there was never enough capacity or space to be able to think about very strategical, logical things like that. And
The flexibility.
the flexibility, like it's just interesting how sometimes your brain, I mean, my brain, I just wired my brain to be one way for so long that I wasn't able to color outside of the lines for a second and see what else I could draw, or how large the page actually was to be able to color, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and that was a big deal for me actually.
Yeah. Well, and I was gonna say the other thing too is like you actually were taking weekends off and going to the beach and like actually back to living your life again. You know what I mean? And that might not sound like a big deal, but it is when you've been working 7 days a week for the past almost 10 years. You know what I mean? So just being able to see you come alive again in that aspect was like a big win for me.
Yeah, and I still do, and I'm still very much like the weekends. On the weekends, like I don't even have my email notifications on at all anymore. At
Wow.
all. Not just the weekends. At all. Like that
Mm,
is probably going to blow some people's minds because people are going to be like, I mean, it forces you to check your inbox frequently.
right.
Um, but you control when you check it versus being bombarded with the notification and immediately like going into your inbox. I think like it allowed me to control a little bit more of my boundary. I think something that you told me specifically that made me really understand boundaries more too, because I would set these boundaries, right? Like I'm done working at 6 o'clock. And if anybody messages me at 7 o'clock, like that's so rude. Why would anybody message me at 7 o'clock? Like, are you kidding me? And now I have to answer and blah, 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 blah. And you reframed my whole mindset about boundaries being essentially not what everybody I think thinks they are currently, which is you expect people to follow your boundary, and your boundary is set for you to follow it, not the other way around. So if somebody is messaging me at 7 p.m. at night, it's my job to follow my own boundary and not reply. And I will reply in the morning. And that was such an epiphany for me. And maybe some people are listening to this being like, duh, dummy. Like, that so difficult to understand? Yes, it was difficult for me to understand because I didn't grasp that concept. I genuinely did not again, I didn't have the capacity to think that way when I was burnt out. And so I would get so worked up about people breaking my boundary and this and that it caused even more severe burnout. And now I'm even guiding people in like, you got to follow your own boundary. You can't text them back. Like if you text them back, you're opening up the floodgates, and that's your fault. And that was hard for me. Like, what do you mean I'm not perfect? That was my fault for responding. Like, I'm
Well,
perfect. There's no way. Just kidding.
but that goes back to the people pleasing thing you talked about
Yeah.
though, right? Like the reason we give in and we respond to the email after 7 or we send the text back is because we're people pleasing, right?
Yeah.
But we know that's not sustainable. It's going to burn you out. And again, like majority of people do see boundaries the way you're referring to. I did too for the longest time. Like it's about them. They can't cross a boundary. It's like that's actually very disempowering because you never have control over what someone else can do. Or when you make the boundary, I'm not going to respond to any emails past 7. You can send 50 if you want. You're not getting a response out of me. Now you take the power back, right? So it's an energy saver, it's a time saver, and it's honestly really, really empowering, you know? So Shelby, this was so good. Last quick question. If anyone's thinking about potentially working with me or wanting to heal their burnout, what would be your recommendation or advice to them?
What are you waiting for? Honestly, like genuinely, I refer people to you all the time. I talk about you all the time, actually. Like, I don't know if I'm a fan or a stan or just a client, but this, I was just talking about this literally this morning to a random man on the street because I don't even know what we were talking about, but I was like, yeah, my career coach slash life coach slash burnout coach slash like fucking digital diary said blah, 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 blah. But I think if you're thinking about doing something like this and you were at a place where I was at, what else do you have to lose? If this is something that is in your budget and you can make time for, definitely, I can't recommend it enough. Honestly, what I will say though is if you're not willing to do the work, prioritize this and really give your entire being to it and really be open and share the deepest depths of your soul, your darkest secrets, your real gritty thoughts about who you think you are or what's going on in order to get past that and really be honest with yourself, this is not going to work for you. And if you try to perfect this system and lie to yourself about it and lie to yourself about what you're really feeling, this will not work for you. So for me, I had nothing left to lose. I had already tried a million other things to make myself feel better. And this was essentially a last resort for me to get out of the mindset that I was in. And, it was kind of a roll of the dice for me because I really didn't know if you were going to scam me or not. And you didn't. So that's the good news. But I think if my advice for anybody would be, don't do it if you can't commit to it and can't be over 100% honest with yourself and in this series. And if you are in it, I've referred plenty of people who have actually signed up with you and they love it. I hear great feedback. And I think anybody who wants to do it, who's been thinking about it, definitely do it.
Amazing.
I got nothing but good things to say, sister.
No, and thank you. I appreciate it. Like, I, again, always appreciate your authenticity. You always make me laugh. Even when we're talking about some dark shit, you always make me laugh. And you just, again, you have such an incredible light and energy about you. I'm glad people get to experience some of that now listening to this. So last thing, I've said last thing a few times, where can people find you? Can you work with people who aren't in the LA area? Like, you can do things remotely, or, okay.
Yeah,
So how
yeah,
do people find your business?
Okay, well, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is at Shelby Harvey, ShelbyHarvey. Maybe you'll put it on the screen somewhere, Mintu.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
And my website is bythecreatives.co, not .com. You can find me there as well. You can check out my work and DM me, ask me questions. If you guys really want to know some like nitty gritty details about my journey personally, you can ask your questions, hit me up, and I'm happy to chat about it. I'm like a really
Amazing.
open book. I feel like I'm an open book ever since I started doing this. Now I'm like, I've always said anyone can ask me anything, but you just have to ask. Like, am I just going to start blurting out my business to everybody? Probably not. But if you ask, why not?
Thank you so much, Shelby. And everyone will catch you in another episode of the Higher Alignment Podcast. All right, guys, thanks for tuning into another episode of the Higher Alignment Podcast. If you got something out of this episode, I would ask that you please go subscribe and leave the podcast a 5-star review so that it can help find its way to other people who are having a hard time and need support. My mission in life is to help executives realize that you don't need to suffer in silence while still performing at a high level. I want to help free people of the heavy pressure they carry on a day-to-day basis, and having more people listen to this podcast will do just that. So wherever you listen to this, please go leave it a 5-star review, hit subscribe so you never miss another episode, and we'll see you in the next one.